Some people say that there have always been advanced civilizations underground, living inside the hollow spaces within the earth. Of course, the cavity mentioned here is not the kind of underground cave, which is warm and humid inside and makes people feel comfortable and shiver. There are only stalactites there, but no civilization. It is talking about the inner world of the earth, that is the interior of the earth, is actually a huge cavity, which is connected to the surface through thick and long passages at the South Pole and the North Pole, similar to the hometown of the handsome guy on Skull Island in Godzilla vs. Kong. In 1970, the Soviet Union launched a drilling project attempting to bore through the earth, but when they reached a depth of 12,262 meters, they abruptly stopped and permanently sealed the borehole. This made content creators overjoyed. It was like wanting a drink and getting mutai, or wanting to brag and being handed the perfect material. They claimed that when the Soviets drilled down to 10,000 meters underground, they heard wailing sounds like those from Hela warning from a civilization at the Earth's core. The construction crew was so terrified that none of them dared to keep drilling, and in the end, the government halted the project. That's just how good these content creators are at making things up. Honestly, it's like a grandma crawling under the covers. It just cracks me up. The Earth's diameter is over 0 kilometers, and the depth the Soviets drilled is like making a 0.2 millimeter dent on the surface of a basketball. For the Earth, that's barely even scratching the surface, let alone going inside. And they expect to hear me wailing? Who's gonna wail for you? Back then, the Soviet Union and the United States were in the middle of the Cold War, so basically, they were competing in everything imaginable. If you go to space, I have to go to space too. If you drill into the Earth, I have to drill as well. Back then, the United States also launched the Moho project to drill through the Earth, but in the end, just like the Soviets, it came to nothing. The real reason is simply that drilling into the Earth wasn't very useful, so they couldn't get funding for it anymore and just stopped. It had absolutely nothing to do with any so-called warning from an underground civilization. The Soviets drilled for 3 years, went through drill bits costing 300 each for 3 years until the funding ran out, and the project team was worn out by the effort. As for whether the drilling was useful or not, do you really think they didn't know? It's basically all input with no output, like a hopeless admirer who keeps giving but never gets anything in return. If you're lucky, you might get to listen at the door, but in the end, you're just moved by your own efforts. So why keep trying? But in recent years, I've heard that Japan also has plans to drill into the Earth. Who knows if it's true or not? All I can say is, the Earth probably thinks it's great and randomly rewards them with an earthquake. There are plenty of similar rumors about a world at the center of the Earth. For example, an American major named Richard Byrd described in his diary that he once made contact with a civilization inside the Earth. If you ask me, that sounds fake right off the bat. Who seriously keeps a diary these days? Who would actually write their innermost thoughts in a diary? If you write it down, can it really be called your innermost thoughts? According to his account, the world inside the Earth is an enormous continent inhabited by many species that have already gone extinct on the surface. And as for our human technology, to the people of the inner Earth, it's basically a pile of crap they could wipe us out with a wave of their hand. However, they follow the teachings of their ancestors and never interfere with anything on the surface, choosing instead to live in seclusion underground. Until one day, they discovered that humans had started using atomic bombs. So they made a decision that went against their ancestors' teachings and began to contact the surface, urging humanity not to use nuclear weapons. Because if things went wrong, we people of the inner Earth could get dragged into it too. You humans are still very young, so you absolutely must not go down the path of crime. The Earth's nuclear power should be valued, military strength should be maintained, and internal strife should be avoided. In fact, the earliest proponents of the hollow Earth theory were actually some of history's most renowned figures, such as Halley and Euler. Halley is the same Halley as in Halley's Comet, and Euler is the same Euler as in Euler's formula. However, because most physical theories at that time were still incomplete, the hollow Earth theory was merely their speculation. For example, Euler believed that there was a small sun with a diameter of 600 miles inside the Earth, continuously providing light for underground creatures, so he was certain that a civilization existed at the Earth's core. However, as we all know, the reason the sun can emit light and heat is because its high-temperature, high-pressure environment allows hydrogen to fuse into helium and release energy. To reach the temperature necessary for hydrogen nuclear fusion, a star must have at least 8% of the sun's mass, which is equivalent to more than 26 Earths. Setting aside whether a star with such a massive amount of mass could even fit inside the Earth, even if you managed to squeeze it in, the inner Earth people would at the very least need to have the constitution to eat, shock, and drink magma to survive, being so close to a mini-sun. Even if the inner Earth people really did have a constitution as incredible as a cow flying an airplane, utterly extraordinary, if you put such a huge star inside the Earth, how could our planet's delicate body possibly withstand it? The immense gravity would cause the Earth's crust to collapse entirely, and the whole planet would be sucked into the star. Unless the inner Earth people could install an extremely powerful support structure inside the Earth, there would be no way to withstand the gravitational pull of a star. And a support structure that durable definitely couldn't be made from materials found on Earth. It would have to be made from the droplet material of the Trisolarans. But if the inner Earth people's technology had advanced to the level of the Trisolarans, why would they still be hiding underground? Everyone on the surface is talented and speaks so nicely. Why not come up and join us? We've inner Earth, people suffered underground our whole life. Can't we come up and enjoy life too? It's like a human sitting on a fortune but living in a basement, while a bunch of uncivilized monkeys next door are living in a bright, airy, luxury mansion. If you don't wipe out those monkeys, you're practically a saint. At the very least, you'd act like a ruthless capitalist and enslave them. Come on, let the inner Earth overlords see how much surplus value you still have left.